What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol SQ for Square Inc. On the left-hand side, we have the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. First things first, this is a stock that I watch very closely intraday, so the chart is already marked up. I will point out from the daily perspective that we technically are still in a downtrend, right? Notice how we are resisting at the resistance trend line. Technically, our highs are getting lower, and our lows are continuously getting lower as well. So all I'm trying to illustrate by pointing that out is that if there is continuation higher tomorrow, start to look for overhead resistance coming in from the resistance trend line. To the downside, obviously, we have the glaring gap in the chart underneath us, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And then after that, the pivot low down here at the 227-ish area. Let's take a look now at the 30-minute to see what else we can learn about this movement here. Let's first address the gap since it's large and in charge and kind of on the screen here. On a breakdown of today's low, again, I'm not saying it has to happen tomorrow, the next day, the next week even, but if we do break down underneath 245 for round numbers sake, we're going to expect this gap to fill with relative ease about, let's call that 4 points lower, right down to about 241, we'll call it for round numbers sake. Again, this doesn't have to happen all in one day. You're not taking speculative shorts up here as we dribble higher, expecting magically that someday it fills the gap, right? You only take this trade if we break down underneath the level. So that's the downside. To the upside, how did we actually fare in today's session? Obviously, this pattern here, what I've just drawn in, is a bull flag. That's a bullish pattern, and we're looking for some sort of upward continuation. Again, we have a target based on the daily, but let's take out our fibs here, come in from the low of the move to the high just to gauge the strength of the pullback. Obviously, the 38.2 was respected, right? So we came here, pulled back into it. That's a beautiful thing. That's exactly what you want to see whenever you're dealing with pullbacks, and we still are holding it into the post-market session here, trading 249 by 249.20, so right around this area in here. The ideal scenario for tomorrow, again, this is scenario number one, picture perfect world, everything is rainbows and butterflies, right? We're going to consolidate here, take the break of today's high to get us again into that overhead resistance, which we know is horizontal area from in here at the 256, we'll call it, as well as resistance trendline 50 SMA are going to be there as well, just overhead. That's the upside target based on Square's daily range. It could easily do that over the course of Friday's session tomorrow. In a not so picture perfect world, so scenario number two, we'll call it. Let's go ahead and take our level out and just draw that on here manually. So scenario number two would be no breakout on Friday. We actually break down underneath this 249 area, we'll call it for round numbers sake, and we get an inside day, right? Spending the majority of the day in here and closing somewhere inside of today's range. That would be scenario number two. Obviously, we know that scenario number three is the bearish one where we fill the gap underneath, and that is going to be that to the downside. If you enjoyed today's video, if you enjoyed walking through the price action here, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description, and all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.